every year we say the Angels should sell, but I don't think they're ever going to do it as long as Artie Moreno's there. Now, I say they make a small move to bolster the bullpen for the second half. Now, they could really use some help in the rotation, but I do wonder if Reed Detmers ends up going back to the rotation here soon, but they really need someone for the bullpen. They rank dead last in Fangraph wins above replacement when it comes to the relief pitching. I could see a cheaper ad, someone like Sir Anthony Dominguez, or maybe they can go for a cost control reliever that can help them for next year, someone that won't cost a ton like Yohan Duran, someone like Dennis Santana. For the Astros, I say they add a left-handed bat. Now, GM Dana Brown has already said he wants to add a left-handed bat, and besides, Jordan Alvarez is on the IL right now. They only have 2 lefty bats on the roster with Taylor Trammell and John Singleton, along with a couple of switch hitters in Victor Caratini and Cooper Hummel. Now, I think Ryan O'Hearn could make a lot of sense, or Cedric Mullins could work here as well. Moving on to the A's, and I say they move Luis Severino. Now, I know this one might sound crazy since they just signed him this offseason, but I think it could happen. The A's are out of it first off, and Severino has expressed his displeasure pitching in Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, and Bob Nightingale did report recently that the A's can't wait to move him, so we'll see what happens here. And also, don't forget, the A's pretty much had to sign someone this past offseason, or the Players Association was going to file a grievance if the A's and other teams as well didn't spend money. Now, with the A's having plans of moving to Vegas in the next few years, they didn't want to risk any more penalties, so they signed Sevy to a 3-year deal. Now, with Severino, he's pitched much better on the road, and he could definitely help out a contender down the stretch looking for more starting pitching. Speaking of Severino, I think the Blue Jays end up trading for him. Now, the Blue Jays have been very good this year, exceeding expectations in a lot of people's eyes, but one area they could improve is the rotation, which only ranks 27th overall in Fangraph wins above replacement. Now, they also rank in the bottom 5 when it comes to velo, and they give up the 3rd most barrels in all of Major League Baseball this year. Both those things Severino would improve. And another thing with the Blue Jays is they've had to scratch and claw when it comes to free agency in recent years, so this could be a way for them to add someone under contract. On to the Braves, and they've been a massive disappointment this year, but I don't expect Alex Anthopoulos to have a big old fire sale. Instead, I think he looks to move some of the expiring contracts like Marcelo Zuna. You got Raisel Iglesias. You also got Rafael Montero in there. But I could also see maybe someone like Sean Murphy since Drake Baldwin has broken out this year. On to the Brewers, and I expect them to make a couple of solid moves to bolster the team. As of right now, they have one of the best records in all of baseball, so I think they'll continue their usual strategy every year of adding talent, but not breaking up the farm to do so. Now, where I think they could improve is the lineup, which only ranks 25th in home runs, and the bullpen as well, I think could use a little bit more of a boost. They only rank 15th in strikeouts per nine. Now, as for the lineup, I think Eugenio Suarez would be an amazing addition here. Now, I know you have Caleb Durbin, but maybe he could play somewhere else. Maybe you could move him over to second base. Bryce Terang can play shortstop. Joey Ortiz can come off the bench since he hasn't been doing much with the bat this year. However, I could see Suarez getting a bit too expensive because of the market, so maybe the Brewers sidestep a little bit here. Maybe they go after someone like Willie Castro on the Twins, who has a lot of versatility, and I could see the Brewers liking that. They could also go after Ryan O'Hearn, who they could pair up with Andrew Vaughn at first base, and O'Hearn can play some left and DH as well. On to the Cardinals, and I think they trade Ryan Helsley. Now, the Cardinals have taken a step back here in recent weeks, and Helsley is getting closer to free agency, so I think it makes sense for the Cardinals to take advantage of the market, a market that is always looking for relief pitching at the deadline, get back a good amount of value that the new front office regime could use moving forward. For the Cubs, I think they end up adding a couple of arms. Now, Justin Steele went down earlier in the year, and since rookie Ben Brown has been inconsistent up to this point, I think they look to add someone to the rotation to solidify things. But on the other hand, I can see them looking to add to the bullpen as well, which only ranks 19th overall in FWAR and dead last in strikeouts per nine. Now, they have a very good farm system, and I think one of the deals they make could be very substantial for, say, one of the top cost control relievers out there like Yohan Duran or Griffin Jax. Now, I also think they have what it takes to pull off a trade for, say, Joe Ryan or Mackenzie Gore, but the question is, how far would they be willing to go, especially with Kyle Tucker coming up in free agency? So would they want to give up guys like Owen Casey or Kevin Alcantara down to the minor leagues? I don't know. But in the end, I think they could end up adding a couple of arms, whether that's one for the rotation and maybe one for the bullpen as well. For the Diamondbacks, I think they they end up finishing off their fire sale. Now, they've already traded away Josh Naylor to the Mariners, and I think it's pretty much guaranteed that Eugenio Suarez is going to get moved too. Now, they have a couple of arms as well. You got Merrill Kelly, who's having a solid year. He could be a very good number 2 or 3 in any rotation out there to help out a contender to try and compete for a World Series. Now, Zach Gallen, he's had a tough year, but maybe a tweak or 2 away to help him get back on track. Whatever it is, I think the Diamondbacks definitely need to move these players, get back some value, and regroup for 2026. The Dodgers are under 500 in July so far, and along with multiple injuries, it's looking a bit rough in LA as of right now. However, you know they're going to be busy picking up the phones, and along with the rotation, slowly but surely coming back together. Tyler Glasnow came back recently, and Blake Snell, he's on the mend as well. I think they could add a couple of arms to the bullpen. They've had a ton of injuries in this bullpen, and I think one of the top relievers out there make a lot of sense, like Yohan Duran or Griffin Jax possibly. They got the prospects to get a deal done. Maybe you could even turn to the Pirates, get a couple of relievers in a package like David Bednar and Dennis Santana. For the Giants, I say they add a starting pitcher. Now, I think they could also go after another bat, even after trading for Rafael Devers earlier in the season, say Marcell Ozuna to DH, or maybe even Willie Castro or Luis Urias to play second base. But for the rotation, I think they need a bit of a boost here. They only got 3 guys in the rotation as of right now. They did just call up Carson Whisenhunt, their top pitching prospect down in the minor leagues, but Landon Rube, he's on the IL, so I feel like they need a bit of stability in this rotation. Maybe go after Andrew Heaney on the Pirates, Tomoyuki Sagano or Charlie Morton on the Orioles. You got Adrian Hauser on the White Sox, a guy that fits more in the back end of the rotation, someone to just give them a bit more stability. Maybe they could even turn to the A's for Luis Severino. On to the Guardians, and I say they listen to offers for Shane Bieber. Well, now that their top trade asset, Emmanuel Clase, is off the board because he's now being investigated for sports betting, their next biggest trade asset could be for someone who hasn't even pitched for Cleveland this year, and that's Shane Bieber. Remember, he got Tommy John, but he's on a rehab assignment right now, and he is getting pretty close to returning. And with the Guardians not playing all that great lately, I think it makes sense to explore a trade here with starting pitching always getting expensive at the deadline. I wonder if the Guardians look to cash in here because he is going to be a free agent after this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make some kind of a deal. The Mariners have already made a big move by trading for Josh Naylor, and while I do think they could add one more bat to play third base, I think they make a bigger splash for the bullpen. Now, as of right now, they rank 17th and 5th there, and they rank in the bottom 10 when it comes to walks per 9. So they have a ton of prospects, and I think they could go after a cost-controlled arm that throws a lot of strikes to go along with Andres Munoz at the back end of the bullpen, say Griffin Jax on the Twins, or even David Bednar on the Pirates. For the Marlins, I say they end up trading Sandy Alcantara. Now, he looked good in his last start against the Padres, and since he has a couple more years of control left on his contract, I say a team ends up getting a deal done for him. There is the chance the Marlins hang on to him, build his value back up for the rest of the season, then move him in the offseason. But with teams always looking for starting pitching, especially contenders looking to bolster their rotation for the stretch run and the postseason, I say eventually they get something done. The Mets, I think, could use one more bat, and with David Stearns always looking for value any way he can, I think they take a chance on Luis Robert. However, he has been hot lately, and the one thing he's done well all year is hit lefties, posting a 165 WRC plus against them, while the Mets only rank 16th in WRC plus against lefties. He's also played a good center field, so this could allow Jeff McNeil to go back to the infield. For the Nationals, trading Mackenzie Gore would land them a serious haul, but with a new GM in the fold, I think they end up making smaller moves to help them retool for next year and use this offseason to plug in some holes. Now, again, Mackenzie Gore would bring back a lot of prospects, but I think the Nationals want to compete in the future, so I say they end up hanging on to him unless they completely get blown away. Now, I could see them looking to move some other guys. Nathaniel Lowe, he is close to a 750 OPS against righties despite the down year, has a negative FWAR on the year, but maybe a team could take a chance on him as a platoon bat for first base. Kyle Finnegan, he's got 19 saves this year, and Michael Soroka, ERA doesn't look great at a 4.85, but the FIP is better at a 4.05 and has decent metrics, so I see the Nationals use these guys to bring back some value. For the Orioles, I think they make a lot of moves, but I don't think they end up trading everybody. Now, they have a lot of expiring contracts to move, like Ryan O'Hearn, Zach Eflin, Charlie Morton, Tomoyuki Sagano, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Cedric Mullins is coming up on free agency, but there are a few that I wonder if they end up staying put. Now, Zach Eflin, he's had a really down year, ERA at a 5.78. Cedric Mullins, he's really struggled with the bat as of late, only hitting .217 on the year with a 97 WRC+. Tomoyuki Sagano has been steady, ERA at 5.38, but the metrics aren't very good with him, so I wonder if a team would be willing to take a chance on him. However, there are a few guys that I think they end up moving. Ryan O'Hearn, he's having a career year. Did get cold there for a little bit, but has been heating up as of late. Charlie Morton, he got off to a terrible start this year, but he's been looking pretty solid here over the last couple of months, despite one bad start against the Rays in between there. And Sir Anthony Dominguez has been pretty solid in the bullpen. He's a good arm that I think a lot of teams would love to add. For the Padres, I say AJ Preller once again pulls something out of thin air. Now, every year, Preller finds a way to make a move, even if it means he practically empties his farm, like he did last year for Tanner Scott and Jason Adam. But this year, one trade asset he could have is Dylan Cease, who is going to be a free agent soon. I don't expect Preller to keep him around long term. He's a Scott Boras client. He's going to be making a lot of money this coming off season. So I think you could do a sort of change of scenery kind of a trade where maybe you could ship him off somewhere else. You can rely on the guys that you have in your rotation, like Yu Darvish, Nick Pivetta. You got Michael King coming back soon. So maybe they could use Cease in some kind of a trade to get themselves a bat. They could use a bit more pop in the lineup. On to the Phillies, and I think they end up getting a right-handed bat. Now, they did this last year with Austin Hayes, but with both Brandon Marsh and Max Kepler having an OPS under 700, and with Alec Bohm now on the IL with a fractured rib, I think they need another bat, preferably a right-handed one, since they only have 4 righties in the lineup as of right now. Now, there's a couple of different ways they could go here. Maybe Adolis Garcia from the Rangers. You got Ramon Laureano on the Orioles. Maybe they could even go out of the box here and go after Eugenio Suarez, but who knows what that would mean for Alec Bohm at that point. Honestly, can we just see Mike Trout go to the Phillies already? For the Pirates, it makes too much sense to trade Mitch Keller at this point. Now, they have a ton of young pitching in the organization, but they need more high upside bats. Now, Keller, he's on a pretty team-friendly deal, 5 years, $77 million AAV, only just above $15 million as of right now. But with all the young pitching they have at the major league level and guys coming up like Bubba Chandler, you need more bats. They've had one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball over the last couple of years, and with teams always looking for starting pitching at this time of the year, I think you should take advantage of Mitch Keller's value and get yourself some bats. Speaking of bats, onto the Rangers, I say they add one more. Now, they've had great starting pitching this year, ranking 2nd overall in FWAR, but the offense only ranks 27th in OPS. But they have been hot lately, so adding another bat for the stretch run, I think would make a lot of sense. Now, one idea is you can go get a first baseman like Ryan O'Hearn and Josh Smith. He can move elsewhere. He has a ton of versatility. Or maybe you can make an upgrade at catcher. They haven't been getting a whole lot of offensive production out of either Jonah Heim or Kyle Higashioka. Maybe you can turn to the Braves, who have Sean Murphy, who could be expendable with the breakout of Drake Baldwin. For the Rays, I think they end up trading one of their veterans, Brandon Lau, or Yandy Diaz. Now, both are under club control for next year, but with younger players ready to step in, along with the Rays always keeping an eye on the future, it makes sense to me to move at least one of these guys. Now, both are having good years, and teams out there are looking for upgrades at first base or second base. The Red Sox, I think they could be a good fit for Yandy, maybe the Rangers as well, I just mentioned them, and Brandon Lau, I think could be a good fit for the Giants. Speaking of the Red Sox, I say they make a couple of upgrades to the roster. Now, I've said it a million times, but they really need a number 2 behind Garrett Crochet, and they could use another bat now that Marcelo Meyer's out indefinitely with a wrist injury. But I have a hard time seeing Craig Breslow blowing up the farm for, say, Joe Ryan or Mackenzie Gore, because he just made the big trade for Garrett Crochet this past offseason. But I could see a rental like Merrill Kelly. He is going to cost you something, but he's not going to blow up your farm system by any means. I'll also throw Shane Bieber into the mix here. He would be a rental as well. And remember, the Red Sox, they had a lot of interest in him this past offseason before he went back to the Guardians. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, when it comes to a bat, I could see an everyday option at first base like Yandy Diaz, who I just mentioned. And at second base, they could do a platoon with Cedam Rafaela and Roby Gonzalez and all the outfielders they have would be able to play every day. Now, Seti, he's tremendous out in center field, but he has that versatility, so you can keep Seti in the lineup at second base against righties. He can go out in center field against lefties, and when he's in center field, Romy Gonzalez can go to second base. Now, another option would be Ryan O'Hearn. I could see that as well, and then they can just do the platoon at first base with Ryan O'Hearn and Romy Gonzalez. But with Yandy, he would also bring a good insurance policy because you have no idea what's going to happen with Tristan Casas next year. Who knows what his rehab is going to end up looking like. So at least you know that you would have Yandy in the fold. On to the Reds, and I think they add a bat. Now, they've had solid starting pitching this year, ranking 5th overall in starting pitching F4. The bullpen could use another arm, but Hunter Green's going to be coming back soon, so someone like Nick Martinez can go to the bullpen to help them out. Now, when it comes to the lineup, they could definitely use a boost, and where they've really struggled this year offensively is at first base. Spencer Steer has an OPS under 700, so maybe they can go after one of these first basemen that I just mentioned, Yandy Diaz or Ryan O'Hearn. The Rockies already made a big move by trading Ryan McMahon, which felt 2 years late, but at least they finally did it. But they still have some guys here that I think they could move, like Jake Bird, who's had a very good year out of the bullpen. Not a great stretch as of late, but solid numbers overall. And Seth Halverson, not great numbers overall, but the guy throws over 100. For the Royals, I think they end up standing pat. Now, I thought there was a good chance they could end up moving Seth Lugo, but now that's off the table since they're working out an extension with him. My guess that has something to do with Chris Bubik's shoulder injury, so maybe they wanted to keep Seth Lugo in the fold moving forward. But that tells me the Royals, they want to compete next year, so I don't really see them trading any guys here. I think they're going to go into the offseason with the roster they have, maybe look to add a couple of guys this offseason. If they were to make a move, though, I think they could buy. Now, guys like Blake Mitchell, Carter Jansen down to the minor leagues, 2 catching prospects. They could use one of them in a trade possibly to bring back maybe a cost-controlled outfielder. Their outfield this year has been terrible offensively. It's been the worst offensive outfield in all of Major League Baseball. They don't really have a whole lot to look forward to either with the outfield outside of Jack Caglione. So maybe they can get some early shopping done here, get a cost-controlled bat for the outfield going into the offseason. On to the Tigers, and I think they trade for Eugenio Suarez. Now, the Tigers' offense has been really struggling as of late, only ranking 29th in offense in the month of July, so they could really use a jolt here. And Suarez, yes, he is going to be expensive for a rental, but the Tigers have a very good farm system. I think they find a way to get a deal done. They could really use a power bat like this in the middle of the lineup. For the Twins, I think they keep Joe Ryan, but they end up trading either Yohan Duran or Griffin Jax. Now, the Twins aren't really in a prime spot right now, and they could use a bit of a retool for next year. Sure, trading Joe Ryan, he would bring back a serious haul for the Twins moving forward, but the Twins always want to compete, and I think they end up hanging on to him to try and help them for next year, and if they end up stinking again, then I could see them revisiting this down the road. But for now, you could look to trade either Duran or Jax. You have a bit of a surplus here at the back end of the bullpen. Both these guys are under club control. They're very good. They would bring back a very good package as well. So I say they keep Ryan and trade one of these guys. For the White Sox, I think they'll trade Luis Robert. Now, this has been the plan for a while now, with Robert finally healthy and heating up with the bat as of late, posting an OPS over 900 in his last 15 games. I think the White Sox pull the trigger and finally get a deal done. Last but not least, I think the Yankees pull off one more deal and land an arm for the pitching staff. Now, they tried for Eugenio Suarez, but ended up sidestepping the Ryan McMahon, and reportedly, they were offering a big package, which included the number 2 prospect Cam Schlittler for both Suarez and Merrill Kelly, but clearly the Diamondbacks didn't think what they offered was enough, so in the end, they ended up turning to Ryan McMahon. But if the Yankees were that aggressive in that kind of a trade scenario, then maybe they can go after another arm out here now that they have Ryan McMahon at third base. Say Mitch Keller, you got Edward Cabrera out there, Sandy Alcantara, maybe even a rental like Dylan Cease, or go after one of these big bullpen arms like Duran or Jax, who I've mentioned a few times here. But I think the Yankees could use something for the rotation. This month, they only rank 29th in F4 when it comes to the starting pitching. But everybody, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What are some predictions that you have? Let me know down below. But everybody, that's all I got for right now. If you can on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.